Hi, I'm Aaron Hand, Editor-in-Chief of ProFood World magazine, and this is Take 5. ProFood World's October issue is due out soon, and that means our annual look at the top food and beverage manufacturers in the world. Commissioned by ProFood World and compiled by market researcher Euromonitor International, our Global 250 report ranks the top food and beverage companies by retail sales. In addition to those sales figures, we have information like manufacturing locations, their key brands, and much more. So let's take a quick look at the top of our list. Beverage giants Coca-Cola and PepsiCo lead the way again for 2020. In fact, the top 10 didn't budge at all this year, with Nestle, Mondelez, Danone, Unilever, Kraft Heinz, Mars, Lactalis, and Ferrero all maintaining their positions from 2019. There's a little shifting around among the next 10 companies, but by and large, the top 20 have remained intact. I find that interesting in a year where everything was so shaken up by COVID-19. So, consumers staying at home and eating rather than going to restaurants, really changing the types of things that they eat. But the big manufacturers were really able to pivot and maintain their positions, although many of them did not see sales grow in that year. In fact, of the top 10, only 4 managed to grow their sales. That was Pepsi, Unilever, Kraft Heinz, and Ferrero. So our online versions of the tables get into even more granular detail, showing how each company's revenues are split by beverage versus food, by U.S. sales versus global sales, that sort of thing. Those tables will be updated on our site at the beginning of October. I say tables and versions plural because in addition to our Global 250 for the food and beverage manufacturers, we also have the top 50 of the alcoholic beverage manufacturers. So here, Constellation Brands knocked out Kirin Holdings from the 10th slot. But other than that, the top 9 stayed put, again, led by Anheuser-Busch. So in fact, Constellation Brands was the only company in that top 10 who saw their sales grow in 2020. Now let's get into some of the larger trends that are driving all of that data that we just saw. So if there's one word that sums it all up, it's health. During their lockdown, many consumers really changed their relationship with food. They started caring more about not only what they were eating, also where that food was coming from. They want transparency in where that food is sourced from. They're paying attention not only to their calorie intake, but they're starting to look at macros, which is things like, their carbs, their fat intake, and their proteins. So speaking of proteins, I have been blown away by how popular the movement toward plant-based proteins has become. The interest in plant-based foods, which avoid not only meats, but also other animal-derived products such as dairy, has just really taken off during the pandemic. It's a trend that was already beginning before the pandemic. But what the pandemic did was it put even more emphasis on people's health, on sustainability, on animal welfare and food safety. So data from the Plant-Based Food Association and the Good Food Institute showed U.S. retail sales of plant-based foods increasing by 27% in 2020, bringing the total market up to $7 billion. So that's almost twice as fast as the total U.S. retail food sales grew during that same time, which was 15%, largely driven by people shopping retail rather than going to restaurants. Sales of plant-based meats specifically grew by 45%. And again, that was twice as fast as conventional meats. And then plant-based milks like almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, which is starting to take off more, they make up over a third of the food market, of this plant-based food market. This is a more established category, but even there, they saw 20% growth in sales in 2020. And again, twice as fast as the sales of cow milk. So all this growth might lead you to believe that the world is filled with vegetarians and vegans, but in fact, they only make up about 6% of the consumer market. And but what we're really hearing about, according to Greg C. Hoy, he's the Dietert's market manager for the plant-based food protein industry. He gave a talk at the Powder Show recently in Chicago, and he was talking about a key market here are the Flexitarians. So Flexitarians are making up almost a third of the market. And basically the idea is that Flexitarians understand that a vegan or a vegetarian diet has its benefits, but they still like meat. So that's where you see a lot of the focus from the manufacturers is on making the plant-based proteins taste like meat. So you have Beyond Burger, you have Impossible Burgers or Impossible Chicken Nuggets also. So I'm sorry, I get a little excited about plant-based proteins. And so I've taken up all of our time with that part of our discussion. But honestly, the trends that shape this move toward plant-based are the same kind of trends that are shaping the industry overall. People are just paying more attention to their health. They're paying more attention to how their food is sourced, what effect they are having on this earth. And, this trend carries out through a lot of other trends. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. We'll have a lot more coverage in our October cover story.